Good Monday evening, Pitt State football fans. Welcome live to Chatter's Restaurant and Bar and the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek, along with the Gorillas head coach Tim Beck. Long time no see. We spent the afternoon, part of it in Kansas City at a press conference up there today, promotional, and back here after a week off. And maybe ball club back on the field to win at Central Missouri to stay over Central undefeated, and some legitimate concerns anytime you're coming off a bye. You're not sure about certain things, but overall, how'd you feel with the play, given you did have a week off?
You know, I thought early on, mainly the whole first half, I thought we played pretty darn good, offensively, defensively, and special teams in the first half. It's just the fact that we went into halftime and had 14 points on the board and felt like we should have had 28, you know, and we've been really, really good in the red zone. We've been really good inside the 10 up until this game, and we weren't as effective at times on the goal line as we'd like to be, and a couple times we felt like we scored, and then, you know, we put the ball on the 1 yard line, and our defense proved that last year. It's never 6 until it's across that line, and so you've got to be confident and be able to stick it in the end zone, and that's something that we definitely need to improve on.
The weather was a story, because all of a sudden, I mean, it's a lot cooler than any games you've played. The wind is blowing up and down the field one direction. How's that change your mindset going into the game with those conditions?
Well, you know, for the most part, our offensive and defensive line like that kind of weather, I think. But, you know, you worry about your skill guys. Number one, when it gets cold like that, the ball seems to be a little bit slicker than it's been, and you worry about handling it and catching it and, you know, delivering it and all those type of things. And, again, we turned the ball over 3 times. Central didn't turn it over at all, and we were able to still win the game. So, you know, there's a lot of concerns, obviously. Number one, the wind, and we won the toss and deferred, and they took the ball, so we kicked with it, and Connor Frizzell did a nice job of kicking the ball out of the end zone when we had the win, which is very important. We don't want to have to cover kicks if we don't have to, and you know, but you know, the wind was not much of a factor in the second half as far as when it was our turn to get the win in the fourth quarter. It was gone. Yeah, it was gone. So that's a good example of why you should take it in the third quarter if you have the opportunity.
And they did. Central did in a close game, and the way it was playing up, I thought that would be a factor, but yeah, that wind died down a little bit. I saw you Saturday night. We were talking about it overall. Everything Central gives you to account for on offense, the shifts, the motions, and of course combo patterns and that, and how athletic they are on defense. Going in, you knew it'd be a much tougher game than you had played. As you look back, you feel like you beat a quality team?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I feel like that, you know, of course, Central was able to beat Northwest Missouri early in the year, and at one time they were ahead of them 31-7, and we feel like Northwest has got a really good football team. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But Central's got a lot of weapons offensively, and you know, we talked about the quarterback last week, and then he showed what he could do. He can throw that thing around, and big, strong, physical guy, hard to bring down, and you know, they've got good receivers. They've got a really, really fast running back. They've got a tight end that they can throw the ball to, so they can spread the ball all over the field. And then defensively, they run to the ball really well. So we were looking at a pretty fast and physical team, and we had to face some adversity a couple different times, and I thought our guys handled it pretty good for the most part and showed some perseverance in coming back.
So you don't figure Central beat Northwest by this much and you beat Central by this much? That'll determine Saturday?
Well, unfortunately, them beating them and us beating Central has nothing to do with this Saturday, right, unfortunately. But you know, hey, you got to look at everything and look at every game, and that, you know, obviously that's a game that we'll spend a lot of time looking at and doing different things because it's a game that they lost. So when you do that, you know, spend a little bit extra time on breakdowns on a team like that.
Yeah, every game is unique. No two ways about that. With the bye week, and I'd ask you leading up to the game, it is different when kids don't have a game on Saturday. You never know about their mindset. How'd you feel about the time spent leading up to this past Saturday?
Well, you know, we did one thing different than we did a year ago, and that was...
you won the game.
Yeah, that was... Okay, two things different. Yeah. The most important part we did different. But offensively, we brought them in just basically for a timing practice, just to make sure that we were doing things full speed on the weekend where we didn't bring our defense back, and you know, there needs to be some time spent doing those type of things. And so that was one thing that we did a little bit different, and we felt good about it when we did it. And so that's part of it, is feeling good about what you're doing. And I think our players felt good about it as well.
Is this a team, now you're halfway through the regular season, Do they look like they've played like they practiced?
You know, we felt like last week was overall probably 3 of our better practices that we'd had. Now the 2 weeks before that, we were hit and miss. We'd have a good day, have a bad day, have a good day, have a bad day. But last week was really sharp, you know, and they were very focused for the most part this week. They were a little bit bored at times because we've been practicing so long on Central. But, you know, again, that's the bottom line, and we talked about it yesterday with our players again. It's, you know, today's a day to either catch up academically or get ahead, whichever applies to you, and then you need to get rested up and ready to go because the practice is so important for us on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Well, it was turned out to be an okay day. Again, not a perfect game. It never is. But in the end, the Gorillas pushed when they were pushed, and it was enough. We'll step aside, take our first break. When we come back, we'll delve into that first half. Pitt State and Central Missouri. Back with more of the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric after this. Welcome back to Chatters and the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek, along with Pitt State head coach Tim Beck. We'd like to do some giveaways here, and good crowd on hand tonight. So we'll give away $25 to Fat Daddy's down at 2nd and Pine. Kind of the sister place here of Chatters, but $25 dine-in only, includes drinks. Expires at the end of the calendar year. Gene Irvin, come on down, claim your prize. You can hand that over there. It's great Pitt State guys. So thank you for being here, and we'll do a couple of more of those a little bit later in the evening. Yeah, I think it was the last one to put it in. And just Coach Beck needs to stir it up, stir the pot. Golly. Good thing you won over the weekend. It'd be a rough crowd to play. So, well, you do win the toss. That's always a good start. And defer, they get the ball. They have one first down. Might have been on the game's first play. And interesting, you told me last week, you know, what they like to do with that running back. That zone stretch play, but the hard boot, play action, and boot back the other way, and they showed that early. What makes that so difficult to deal with?
Well, it's amazing to me that it's so difficult, but they just do such a good job selling it with their offensive line, and they really get those guys running one way or the other, and the quarterback puts his back, you know, to the defense and then puts that hand out there, and it's really hard not to just, you know, want to follow that and chase that back. And the back's good enough that, you know, we need as many people over there as you can get to defend that. Now, we did a really good job of stopping their run game. But when they do that and then he wheels back out of there, you know, there's a couple of times during the day where we had a body on him and just kind of slid off. And I just knew at some point we were going to, you know, hit him right in the back when he did that and for a big loss. But he does a really good job of selling it, and it's hard to defend.
They punt it, not a great punt into the wind, kind of a low knuckle ball that was down. You get it at your 28, have a first down, you're sniffing in midfield, your drive stalls. You leave your offense out there. It forces them to call a timeout, but they just kind of conceded you were going to punt it, and they didn't have anybody on the field. What are you looking for there, the way they react, whether you might quick snap it or whatever the case might be?
Well, first thing about that bothered me a little bit is, you know, the officials helped stop the ball. Now, we didn't sub anybody, so they shouldn't have stopped the ball at that point. I mean, they, you know, put their hand over the ball, would not allow us to snap it, because they wanted to allow them to bring in their subs. Well, we didn't sub anybody on and off the field, so really they should have let us snap the ball when there was nobody out there. And so that was the first thing. Next thing is, you know, we're looking to see if they're going to put a guy back, if they are or if they are not. And you know, we were able to. They were able to not. There's several things we can do out of that set, obviously, but they didn't put anybody back, so we were able to punt it. Great punt by Anthony, get it down all the way down to the 1 yard line. John does a good job of keeping it in bounds, but then we got people hustling down there, and we bump it, and it slides into the end zone, so they get it on 20. But you know, that was a great punt, and it worked out just like we wanted to. We hopefully got to keep it inside the 5 yard line and be happy with that.
Yeah, I couldn't quite stop the momentum. I think one slid and kind of undercut another, and neither of them could grab it. Abinoa's punted it, Castaneda's punted it, and you even threw one the other day with him. He ended up using him to punt out of your end zone. So how much different does that make it, you think, for a defense when another team may not know who's going to kick the ball or what they might do with it?
Well, other people have done that to us, you know, as far as really making you work on your special teams. And hopefully I'd like to think that we're making them work a little extra, spend a little extra time on special teams. And you know, the other day we were able to block a punt, and we had a nice return on a kick return, and you know, we've done several things. We faked the punt for a first down, and so we were pretty successful with most of our special teams the other day, and our coverage teams were pretty good as well.
Yeah, you get it. So they're at their own 20, 54-yard punt by Amanoa. Turns out to be a touchback there at their 20. Again, 1 first down. They have to punt. And then the block by Tyler Disney. What did you see there that allowed him to get it?
Well, we brought a block left is what we called it, block left, return right. And we put 4 people really, really wide, which really stretched the 3 down guys up front. Stretch them pretty good, and usually a lot of times people will let you bring people to their wedge, and they'll funnel people inside to that 3-man wedge, and then most people will put 3 big guys. Sometimes it's offensive linemen back there. Sometimes it's 300-pound guys that can protect. Now they can't go down and cover very well, but they'll protect the punter. And so we got pressure on the outside. Disney came completely free, and then he hit the gap hard, which we worked on quite a bit, and he hit that gap and was able to get a hand through there and block it. So it was a great job by him, great effort by him. And then it becomes you have to know whether the ball goes past the line of scrimmage or not. Right. That one was right at the line of scrimmage, so that's a little dangerous because if it goes beyond the line of scrimmage and then we touch it and then they recover it, then it's their ball first down. So it was a little bit scary. It was right at the line of scrimmage, but we recovered it, so everything was okay.
On to 29, pick up a first down. It was on a 4th down conversion to Mandel Dixon, and 4th and not very far. And there's a guy that had the short yardage, the great fantasy line last year at the end of the year for you. And haven't seen him line up on the line of scrimmage as much as a tight end. But, boy, really a well-designed and executed play on 4th down.
Very well executed, good play call. Coach Rampy and the guys did a great play call at the time. Worked out exactly like we wanted it. I got Mandel in the flat. Mandel makes a really nice catch because it wasn't an easy throw for Anthony because he did have a guy chasing him, so he had to make a good throw. Made a good throw, and Mandel made a really nice catch. But then unfortunately we turn around the next play and give it back to him.
With Dixon, with his success in the short yardage running, but listed as a tight end, and I know it sounds like, I think talking to you early in the year, that he needs some refinement, maybe playing on the line. What kind of a player do you describe him as for you guys right now?
Well, he's a unique player. He's what a lot of people in a lot of colleges refer to as an H position, and that's kind of a hybrid type player. And he can play in the backfield as a fullback or move around as a tight end or be in a slot, and he'll just do a lot of different things. And those guys are hard to find, hard to come by. But, Mandel, at times we'd like to play him some more at tight end, but it's hard just to be able to do everything. And so we have to be careful on what we do because, other than the quarterback position, the tight end position is the position that has more to learn and more to remember than any other position. They've got a lot on their plate. So when you throw all the tight end stuff in with the H stuff, it can be overwhelming. So we got to be careful about how much we do. But he's a guy that, again, he's just a true sophomore and played a lot for us as a freshman, and he's a good football player.
You end up fumbling on the goal line, John, down there. You guys do a number of things on the goal line and put him in a motion and sometimes back and forth. This time it was a hand sweep. Did it look like he was just fighting for extra yardage?
Yeah, the other thing about it, he didn't put the ball in his left arm, carried it in his right arm, and going that direction, he really needs to put the ball in his outside arm. But, he gets up through there, and he's dangerous with the football, make a lot of things happen. But you're exactly right, just fighting for extra yardage, and then somebody pops it out, and next thing you know, it's on the ground, and here they go the other direction, headed to the 50.
Thankfully, their big guy didn't pitch it to a little guy because 270-pound D lineman runs it back, and although they go 3 and out, it allowed them to flip the field. You have a great drive, 8 plays, 86 yards. Finally, with less than a minute to play, you do crack the scoreboard, a pop pass. You get out on the goal line, so many things. But what has to happen for that lateral pass or that bubble screen to be effective?
Well, there's a lot of things that have to happen, but the X screen or the screen that you're talking about that we scored on with John, that was a nice play call down there, and by Coach Rampy. But one thing that we do that's interesting is Oliver Venegas is our left tackle, and he's got to pass it real quick and then release. So you want the end to rush. You like to call it when they're bringing pressure, and they're bringing hard pressure. It's better, and then. John takes a couple steps to get the corner going backwards, and then next thing you know, we got an offensive lineman out there on it, and then the linebackers here, they come from inside out, and he kind of makes one of them miss a little bit, and he's in the end zone before you know it.
See a lot of guys run that, a lot of teams with trips out there, and 2 of them will be blockers and that wide receiver screen. Talk about how much your wide receivers have to work on blocking.
Well, early in the game we missed one, and Luke Rampy had a really good game, but missed a block on one to John early on, probably second play of the game, I believe. And it's so important. Our receiver coaches spend an unbelievable amount of time with our guys blocking on the edge, and it's a really tough chore, because when you always talk about if you're equal talent, the defensive guy's got a huge advantage on being able to set a guy up and come underneath him or around him or over him out in open space. So as a receiver, and our coaches, they take a lot of pride in our guys blocking well. It's a really tough chore, and we're getting better at it. We're improving, but we've still got some room for improvement.
Well, 7-0 Gorillas at the end of a hard-fought first quarter, and we'll step aside, take another break. When we come back, we'll look at the rest of the first half. Back with more of the Coach Tim Beck Show at Chatters after this. Welcome back live to Chatters and the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek along with Pitt State head football coach Tim Beck. Go ahead and pull another name out of there, Coach. We'll do another $25 to Fat Daddy's at Second Pine, and again, dine-in only, includes drinks, expires at the end of the calendar year. Better flip that around. Maggie, come on up. Got a winner back there, Maggie Battaglia. So thanks for coming, and paid off. So enjoy that, courtesy of Mod and the staff here at Chatters, and also Fat Daddy's. Also out of the second break each week, we talk about the Gorilla Alerts texting service weekly trivia contest. You need to be a member of this, and it will be texted to you early in the 6 o'clock hour. It's a multiple choice question. You text back the best guess, and we'll let you know if you are a winner. And this week, wanted to know about the all-time rivalry between Pitt and Northwest. Some extended winning streaks by both squads. Name the longest streak of wins and which team enjoyed that winning streak. And the options were Northwest 7 in a row, 10 in a row, Pitt State 7 in a row, or 10 in a row. And the answer was D, Pitt State 10 wins in a row. And that was 1983 through 96. A little bit interrupted there with the Gorillas joining the MIAA in the 89 season. But Jesse Wall of Carl Junction knew that. He should. He's Pitt State Hall of Famer and a football coach himself. He'll get a pair of tickets to the homecoming game against Missouri Western on October the 20th, courtesy of Vital Signs, PSU Athletics. And to sign up for the Gorilla Alerts texting service, visit the athletics website, pittstategorillas.com. Click on the Gorilla Alerts button. What do you remember about Jesse Wall as a player?
Remember Jesse Wall? He was. I remember him on his recruiting visit, as a matter of fact. And he we all wondered why we were recruiting this big guy that had a big brace on his knee and on crutches when he came on his recruiting trip. But what a great guy, and was a very, very good player. Was an All-American and just a really tough physical guy, and was a really good athlete at Midwest City and Oklahoma, and then was again a great player here, and enjoying having his son on our team right now.
He was kind of just personified those short, tough linemen we had in those days.
Absolutely.
That split back, very option offense, and good at what he did, and the high school coach now doing a great job of that as well. So thanks for playing along, and congratulations to him. 7-0, Coach. You go to the second quarter, and you kick off for them after the score. Again, 1 first down and a punt. First 4 series, they have to punt the football. They have 3 first downs. Your defense was playing well for you. I
thought they really played well. Other than the ball on the 2-yard line and then going 98 or 99 in a few plays, which we had our chances to get a safety there and missed him. And again, you have to give him a lot of credit on how he was able to get out of some things. He was playing Houdini back there. But other than that, we really did a good job of containing them in the first half.
Defensively, it's frustrating. You ended the day with 6 sacks, and could have been twice that. He obviously moved pretty well for as big as he was. He used a stiff arm pretty well a couple of times. And, boy, when they're in the shotgun, what are you telling your DNs in that situation, the way he's moving?
Well, you've always got somebody to contain, whether it be an end or a tackle on a twist or a loop or whatever. But there's always somebody to contain. And every once in a while, a quarterback will step up and then it'll get that guy's nose to come down inside the tackle. And the next thing you know, you lose contain. And that's really frustrating for, our defensive coaches and coaching staff. Because, you hear them, we lost contain again, lost contain. So there's always somebody responsible for that for the most part. Every once in a while, you'll have something, set up where you just absolutely want them to flush the pocket, but for the most part, you want to contain him in there and continue to put pressure with the inside tackles on him. But I have to give the kid a lot of credit. We knew going in he didn't run real well, but after you watch the game, you're like, well, he doesn't run that bad. He just really had good pocket presence and was able to to slip and slide and get out of some stuff and buy some time for them. And when you take some chances with pressure, you can't allow them to buy too much time.
Yeah, your coverage, I thought, with that was good because of those 6 sacks. I mean, he's looking to throw that ball. You can see him going through his reads. So, I mean, your coverage sacks are good. Your secondary, they're 50% for the day throwing the ball, and they have decent numbers with it. But how'd you feel with your secondary play?
We were a little concerned about Devontae Bosby going in, and he had a really nice play in the second half on the post route. But he had twisted an ankle pretty bad the week before and during the off week, kind of later in the week. And so we didn't have him at practice Sunday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday practiced a little bit, and then was back on Thursday. And I noticed a couple of times him coming off the field where he's still limping a little bit, but he'll be back to full speed now. But a little concerned when you lose somebody there, and then got in the game and had to move some people around a little bit because Keith and Terry had to come out for a little bit, but. Overall, again, secondary, Coach Cohen and Coach Weimer do a really good job with them, and we have high expectations of that group, and they play really hard.
Because Chaz is out, Jake Catloth can be a backup at really all 3 safety positions for you. Thought he played well, 5 tackles, 1 for a loss, and a guy that's a 5th-year senior, a program kid. It seems like the kind of kid you have to have those at Division II.
Jake's a great example of a young man that, actually was a high school quarterback and came to Pittsburgh State as a walk-on and eventually earned a scholarship. And you're exactly right. He's a program kid. He's been all in since the day he walked in here. Really nice kid and works extremely hard, and he has made himself a player because of his work ethic.
Well, you get that stop after they go 3 and out and you had scored, and then you're really on the verge of taking control of the half because you'd missed the chance early with a turnover. You get the ball at your own 11, you get 1 first down, looks like you're going to punt it, and then you motion Gus Toka across, and their corner guy goes with him and remarkably leaves John Brown uncovered. What are you telling Castaneda to look for in that punt formation?
Well, we had about 4 coaches hollering from the sideline that he was uncovered, and so Andrew saw it, and he's trying to play it off. It was kind of funny to watch him, kind of try not to stare at him. But, we lined up, and they only had 10 guys on the field, so they were short a guy. When Gus goes in motion, that guy went across, leaving John by himself over there. So, it's one of those things. It was not called, but it's an uncovered guy. It's John Brown. It's not that far of a throw. Throw it to him, catch it, go get the first down.
Well, he did, and it led to a great drive, 12 plays, 89 yards. Travis Tillman gets in on a hand sweep and a couple of times down around the goal line. So you'll go with that full house backfield. We see Jeremiah Fleming come in there and Boston Higgins, extra lineman. You'll have no tight ends, no receivers, and yet because of Bryston and Mandel and then either Trez or JB in the backfield, for a heavy set, you have quite a bit of versatility, it seems.
Yeah, we do, and Coach Wells, Coach Wells and Coach Philpott, Coach Rampy do a good job of personnel in those teams, and there's a lot of different things that go into it, a lot of thought that goes into it on how we do it and what we do. And like I said, we've been really successful with the things that we've done, and a couple of the ideas that we picked up at TCU a couple of years ago, and so it's been a really good package for some of the different things that we do. But it's one of those things we've got to be able to line up every once in a while and just mash it in there for a yard, and we didn't do that as successful this last game as we have in the past at times. But again, you got to give Central credit. They did a good job of scouting what we've done and played very aggressive. And so, but we've got to continue to work on that and improve some things.
You ended up getting the ball back again after you score. They go 3 and out with the win. They get a great punt, but a solid return by John of 17. Your own 36, good field position, couple of first downs. I think there was a sack that derailed that, and then Abinoa, 45-yard punt. That's where you pin them at your own 2. And I didn't want to come off like I was crying too much about it. It looked like Joe Uzzle was held on that third down play. That guy's 9-yard deep running laterally there, and Brian Sanchez on cover in a 60-yard pass, but it looked like a wobbler. And sometimes the receiver just knows when to look back, I guess.
Well, and you can't. It doesn't matter who you are. You can't cover him forever, And again, if he would have stayed in the pocket, it'd been a different thing. But he gets out of the pocket, and we felt like Joe was held a little bit as well. But we had a chance to get him, and we didn't, and let him run around and buy some time. It looks like he's running at the very back of the end zone, and he's using all 120 yards of the field, And so we allow him to run around, and he throws it up, and the receiver does a nice job of adjusting. Then I was worried that I was worried it was going to be a touchdown on that play, you know.
Yeah.
But we had some guys rally and tackle him, and then I thought, well, good, because I mean, even though it was as huge a play it was, we still had him out around the 40-some yard line. So I thought, well, we'll get him stopped here, and then the quarterback makes a really good throw down the middle of the field and sets him up.
And then the bootleg, he ends up running in for 12 yards to his right down on that end. And are there some guys you leave a spy to account for quarterbacks?
Yeah, again, we just lost contain, stuck our nose down in there, ended up losing contain, and by the time we tried to recover, it was too late.
So Central, that's a big play to get within 14-7. You get a good kick return by John out to their side of the field. And then the missed field goal, that and the missed extra point both. Maybe it looked like Connor didn't take a full swing at him.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Connor agrees. The field goal that he missed and the extra point that he missed, he just didn't take a good swing at it. He, probably thinking about it a little bit too much, and we don't want him thinking, we just want him kicking it, and he'll be fine. He's had a tremendous year for us, and he came back later and kicked the ball really well and kicked the field goal for us. So, he got back into the swing of things, which is good. But, unfortunately, we didn't want to have to line up for that field goal right before the half. We'd like to got 7 out of that and not line up for that. But, again, we got the ball down there in a short amount of time. That was a nice thing that we showed how fast we can, get in scoring position. We just didn't cash in on it.
Well, 14-7, and there's no doubt the common theme was, left some things out there. Third quarter was a combination of a fumble, a couple of punts. They had a touchdown to go ahead, and then a go-ahead field goal. It ended up setting up kind of a wild fourth quarter. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll get into that kind of final 17 minutes of game time that made a difference. Back with the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric after this. Welcome back live to Chatters Restaurant Bar in Pittsburgh. Eddie Lomshek on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. We'll do another drawing out of the break here. This one right here for Chatters in the House of Wings, $25. Dine-in only, includes drinks. Matthew Lomshek, where you going there? He's a winner. Come here and get your. That's right. Hometown team, baby. That's you leave that here for your daddy. We will use it. He'll use it too. I can promise you, he'll use it. So thanks to Ahmad and the staff for all of that. Good to see everybody out here. So 14-7 at the break, and then third quarter you have the fumble early in the second half. Andrew gets hit on the crossing route, and it pops out, and they have great field position, and you end up forcing them to punt, though. Pooch punt, you're pinned at your own 4. You take a shot on 1st and 10, even into the wind, and it doesn't work out. That kind of became a theme in the third quarter. I think it goes to show the importance of probably having some productivity on 1st and 10. Yeah,
there was I think 3 different times on 1st and 10 we didn't get anything out of 1st and 10. So then you're in 2nd and 10, and kind of handcuffs you a little bit on what you can do the rest of that series. So it's one of those things. You want to mix things up. You don't want them to think you're just going to sit on it and try to run it out of there every single time, because they really bear down on you. So we felt like, hey, let's scare them a little bit here. And of course, there's always a chance that we could connect on one of those. We've done it before, and so it was. Throwing on 1st down, from our own end zone, and didn't work out. But again, you got to change some things up. And Anthony, the one thing about it is Anthony throws the ball well enough, we can throw it into the wind as long as it's not too hard. But just didn't connect on that one. And yeah, you're exactly right. We had 2 or 3 first downs there where we didn't get any yardage out of it, and it hurt us a little bit. Well,
they end up scoring on a 15-yard run by Levance Taylor up your sideline. After that, we went down to BJ on the sideline. He talked about, those times you talk adjustments. That was more Coach Weimer's just getting after his guys. It looked like he had a couple guys maybe give up on the play, like he was going to go out of bounds. So that's frustrating. That was, to me, the point where it turned for your guys, that, Central had all the momentum. Your guys responded.
Yeah, and I know, our defensive coaches weren't very happy with that play. We kind of had him hemmed in there, and I think everybody relaxed a little bit.
Yeah.
Thought he was going to go out of bounds, and he didn't. And again, he's a good football player, and made Joe Winshuffle miss along the sideline. Next thing you know, he's in the end zone. So it wasn't a very good defensive play. And I know Coach Weimers and the guys weren't very happy. But after, you're exactly right. I think that was kind of a turning point for us. After that, we got after it pretty good.
And you touched on it early. They end up with 68 net rushing yards. He has a 4.3 average for the day. He had a long of 22. He had that touchdown run. I thought that was as key as anything in the game. Not that he's going to run for 300 or 200, but you just can't let him average 6 yards a carry. How'd you feel with your run defense overall?
Yeah, for the most part, pretty good. There was one time there he hit that dive up on there, the zone, and it's kind of like we shoestringed him, and he went ahead for about 10 or 12, it seemed like, and it's like, man, if he gets in the open, he is fast. He can go score in a hurry. So, thank goodness they didn't hand it to him a bunch of times, and he's a talented player. Unfortunately, he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, they're very young at their skill positions, very experienced on defense. So you end up trading punts after that. You get a go-ahead field goal, and then they go back down and get a touchdown. They're up 21-17. That's first play of the fourth quarter. So here you are with 14 minutes to play, and your guys answer again. So we knew this would be a different kind of a game. As a coach, this game aside, how pleasing is it just to see your guys respond when they're pushed a little bit?
It was over and everything's settled, and you've won the game. That it's good to know, and it's good for your team to be able to come from behind, not panic when you're down, and come from behind and win. That's a very positive thing. Told our team after the game that our coaching staff's extremely proud of you because you fought back. We didn't cash in on some things in the first half, and then we got behind in the second half, and we battled back, which just to me shows a lot of character by the team, and just really proud of them for how they stepped it up when they had to.
That situation where also part of it turning was they had a decent kick return after you get the lead out to their 37. They had a big play into your territory, then the false start, then the offensive interference, another false start. The offensive interference thing, I saw it happen with the Chiefs yesterday in a game that, 2 touchdowns get called back. Those teams that run a lot of combo routes and pick routes, what's allowed there? How strictly do you believe that's enforced?
I went back and watched it because that was a big play of the game.
Huge.
I know they were probably pretty upset with it, but when you go back and watch it, there's no question it was offensive pass interference, and it was their tight end, and he's a really good player and gets open a lot, but part of the time he gets open because he would shove off at times, and he shoved one of our guys pretty hard, and they caught it. And it's one of those things that doesn't get called very often. That's probably why people do it a lot, but it was a big play. There's no doubt about it, and backed them up, and then they backed up some more, and then
the crowd took over.
Then the crowd gets into it, and boy, it just shows you the home field advantage is so important, and our crowd really got into it, which was huge for us defensively.
How many plays do you have for 2nd and 43?
JB, I tell you, you worried about them hitting a little draw or screen with Levance because he's going to pick up a bunch of yards in a hurry. But 2nd 43 is not a very good down distance situation.
They end up punting at 42 yards. You're still at your own 38. You score, and another great play call. For years, you guys have used the tight ends great, the misdirection, the delayed cross, and here's Brady Letchworth that he's 8 catches on the year and 2 of them are touchdowns or whatever it is. So talk about that play and execution on the goal line.
Yeah, I thought Anthony did a really good job of setting in the pocket, and our offensive line did a good job of protecting it because he had to set in there a long time, and Brady he blocked as long as he needed to, and that's hard when you lock up and then you drag and Chance Riley runs the first crossing route, and then he runs past him, and we drag him back the other direction. So it's a pretty tough play to defend, and it was well executed.
Well, and as much as anything after that, 3 and out by the defense, and you're at your own 19, but you take 3.5 minutes off the clock. You get down to their own 30-something, and you end up throwing an interception in the end zone. If you had it to do over there, would you run it maybe and look to use more time?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt we would. We get a little bit worried when we got in second extra long and should have went ahead and ran the ball at that point. And, we talked about that. But and then Anthony's got to have the, understanding that, hey, time's more important than points right now. Let's don't throw it in the end zone. Even if we pulled it down and ran it, we could have gotten our set where we had some options to either go forward or punt it down there on 4th down. So, throwing an interception at that time was not what we wanted, obviously. So, we got to do a better job at the end there.
It didn't kill you. They get the ball back. They end up turning it over on downs, and again, your defense rises up there. We talked on postgame about Abinoa that ended up with a pretty solid line. 23 of 38, 336, 2 touchdowns. But the high ball, you leave the receivers out there a little bit. Are there times his arm is so strong that it maybe needs a little more finesse?
I think Coach Rampy would probably tell you it was more of him not getting his shoulders set where he needed to, more than anything, not getting rotated upper body wise where he needed to. There were some times he was a little bit off, just a little bit off and a little bit high here and there. I think we had 3 or 4 balls that could have been caught. The guys were open, and went off our hands. So, you know, overall, you know, that's the impressive thing about Anthony is, you know, he was 23, you know, had a good percentage, but still there's several of them that we could have caught that we didn't. So there's always room for improvement, and he's continuing to get better.
How about the game for Jason Spradling?
Really impressed with what Jason did. He just, you know, really makes some really nice cuts up inside, and you know, we'd like to see him go score on that one that he pops out in the open, but you know, the bottom line is he's got really good vision inside, got good balance. He's a tough, hard-nosed kid. He blocks well for us. He does everything we ask him to do.
Pretty gritty effort for Luke Ramp. He left the game twice with a shoulder injury and catches 9 for 144.
No doubt about it. You know, tough kid, and you know, they have to be aware of where John Brown and Andrew Castaneda are, and the next thing you know, Luke's catching him down the middle. He's catching him on the side. You know, when the ball's close, he normally always catches it. Yeah. And went out of the game twice, kind of got a shoulder banged up a little bit, but just a tough, hard-nosed kid and does a lot of stuff for us. So he's very, very reliable as a holder as well.
30-21, the Gorillas wanted to go 5-0 overall, ending the MIAA, maintained their #1 national ranking in the latest coaches poll that came out today as well. Headed to Arrowhead to play Northwest on Saturday. One final break. We'll come back and talk about Saturday's game with the Bearcats on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL after this.
860 AM, KKOW.
Welcome back live to Chatters and the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek along with Pitt State head football coach Tim Beck. 11th installment of the Fall Classic at Arrowhead Stadium, Northwest Missouri this week. We were up there today for a little press conference, and, you know, in a nutshell, you and Coach Doral up there talking about it. And bottom line is it's a joint effort between the two schools, the administration of the game, and it sounds like the Chiefs do a great job to make it a special deal for your kids.
Yeah, they really do. You know, Gary Spaney, great player at K-State and great player for the Chiefs. He's the kind of the guy, our liaison that helps both schools out and organizes things with both the athletic directors. And, you know, like Adam and I talked about today a little bit, the bottom line is there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just drive up there, show up, and go in and play. There's a lot more that goes into it and we really appreciate the administration from both schools because it's quite an opportunity for the players, for both teams to have the opportunity to play at Arrowhead.
They're pretty good again. They lose a game early. In that game, their starting quarterback Trevor Adams was hurt, missed a couple of games in a walking boot. He's back. Last 2 games, you and I both found it ironic that their coach today talked about how well they're playing on defense and special teams and maybe looking for an identity on offense. They've scored 136 in their last 2 games, and I don't care who you're playing in this league. That's a relentless offense, big plays. What makes them so good on offense?
You know, they do a tremendous job of running vertical routes with their players. You know, they run the little jet sweep where you'll see the quarterback catch it and then throw it back to the receiver right in front of him as he comes across. And then they do some play action off of it. They do a nice job with their play action in their vertical game. They spread the ball around pretty good. They've always got a good running back that where you have to defend the run, and then the next thing you know, they're running play action and vertical route. So it's you know, nothing really fancy that they do. They do it really, really well. They always have a good offensive line. Of course, Coach Doral played offensive line there, and I know they take a lot of pride in being really good up front, and they're always very good on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line.
Yeah, a lot of times that vertical, boy, they'll set up the drag too. 2 backs, James Franklin out of Olathe, who's an Omaha transfer, Jordan Simmons, a senior there for them now. They're both built pretty similarly. Franklin more of a runner, and Simmons they throw it to, and he's a return guy. But, boy, there's a couple of guys low to the ground, can make you miss, and they're strong runners too.
Yeah, when you look at Simmons and Franklin and Shaw, there's 3 really talented offensive skill guys that you really have to account for all 3 of them. And then Trevor Adams is a nice quarterback that distributes the ball to them. So you're right in the fact that Simmons is a guy can play. He's listed as a running back. He'll line up in the backfield and catch the ball. He'll line up a receiver and catch the ball. He's all over the field. So again, doing a really nice job up front. They got a big physical tight end and a physical H-back, fullback type kid. And they can cause you some problems. And you know, offensively they're very good, and then defensively they've been phenomenal the last few games.
Yeah, I know he told me in the preseason, Coach Doral did, that they needed some help on defense. They went and got a couple transfers to play on the D-line. They have twin brothers at corner, some guys that have background with John Brown going back to South Florida. But 17 takeaways in 2 games. What are your early impressions of their defense?
You know, I'm
in
really
5 games.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with linebacker, Nader, is a really good player.
DJ Nader, yeah.
DJ Nader's really fast. He really does some nice things, makes some amazing plays for them. And I'm impressed with their corners. I think their corners are really good. That'll be an interesting matchup with our receivers and their corners. So we'll have to really pay attention to that. But just do a good job defensively. Like Central, you know, they really coach the heck out of effort as well as our defense does. But they get people to the football. They're not standing around watching. They're getting people to the football. Mainly play a four-man front, and most of the time they're in a two-linebacker set. They move their support players all over the field. They do a lot of different alignments defensively, different alignments than you see from most defenses. But they'll mix up the coverages, do a nice job in the secondary of mixing things up and disguising things. So you know, it's going to be a great matchup with both of our offenses against their defense, or our offense, their defense, and their offense against our defense.
I know it's a neat opportunity for your kids. What's the week like as Friday comes? Do you get a chance to go up and get on the field the day before?
Yeah, that's a neat thing. You know, we'll probably leave around noon on Friday because we have certain times that we have to practice, and it's our turn to practice first. So we've got to get up there and get checked in and get to the practice field at 3:30. Is when we'll go, and we'll have about an hour of practice. And you know, it's nice to get out on the field. Our kids get a chance to look around and get all that out of the way. It's a neat place to play. So we kind of get that out of the way, and then get settled in for the evening for some meetings, and a lot of our coaches will go watch some high school games, and then we'll get up the next day and have walkthroughs, pregame meal, and away we go.
Away we go. Kickoff 4 o'clock Saturday. Get your tickets in advance. Ticket office open 8:30 to 4 through Friday. For the Fall Classic, we'll be on the air at 3. Big thanks to Coach Beck, to him on the staff here at Chatters. Thanks for coming out. I'm Eddie Lomshek. Thanks for listening. Chiefs Kingdom comes your way at 7:05.